Hello and welcome to Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. In the spotlight tonight are Connor Warden, a PhD student whose specialist subject is Otto von Bismarck. Ailish Smith, the homemaker, who will be answering questions on the history of hand knitting. Rosie Lyon, a lecturer in animal science, whose subject is Robert Louis Stevenson. And Tim Hall, a researcher. His subject is the films of the Coen Brothers. Four brave souls who have rashly volunteered to be tested on how much they know, or rather how much they can remember, under the glare of the spotlight, the pressure of the clock and the black chair and all that. They get 2 minutes on their specialist subject, 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. So let's get on with it and ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
Connor Warden.
Your occupation?
PhD student.
And your chosen subject?
Otto von Bismarck.
A Prussian leader who was the creator, first chancellor of the German Empire. Here we go. Von Bismarck was born in 1815 into a class of Prussian landowners known by a name derived from the German for young and lord. What name is that?
Junker.
Yep. Bismarck's close friend, Marie von Taten-Blankenburg, died in 1846, and a few weeks later he proposed marriage to one of her friends. What was her name?
Johanna von Puttkamer.
Yep. In December 1850, Bismarck gave an important speech to the Landtag. In it, he defended a treaty which sought to end a political crisis caused by Prussia's plan for a union of German states that excluded Austria. The treaty is known by what name?
The Punctation of Olmütz.
Yep. For several years, Bismarck was a regular contributor to the conservative newspaper Neue Preußische Zeitung, which had been founded in 1848. Because of the emblem on its masthead, the paper was popularly known by what name?
The Kreuz Zeitung.
Yep. Bismarck was appointed Prime Minister of Prussia in 1862. He'd served previously as an ambassador in Paris for a few months, and before that for 3 years in another European city. Which one?
St. Petersburg.
Yes. At the Congress of Berlin, Bismarck told a foreign statesman that there will never be socialism in his country as long as its people loved horse racing. Which statesman was it?
Gladstone.
Disraeli. The Prussian victory at Königgrätz in July 1866 was the decisive battle of a war against Austria, which is known by a name that refers to the number of weeks it's often said to have lasted. What name?
7 Weeks' War.
Yep. In May 1866, Bismarck survived an attempt to kill him as he walked back to his office from the Royal Palace in Berlin, though he wasn't badly hurt, and later he kept the would-be assassin's pistol by his bedside. What was the name of the man who shot him?
Coen Blind.
Yep. In Bismarck's first major speech as Prime Minister, he said the great issues of the day would be decided by iron and blood. In response, a noted historian mocked the absurdity of so shallow a country squire bragging about this. What was that historian's name?
Motley.
No, von Treitschke. In 1867, Bismarck bought an estate in eastern Pomerania with the help of an endowment granted by the state after the Prussian victory against Austria. What was the name of the estate?
Varzin.
Correct. No passes, Connor. You have 8 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Ailish Smith.
Your occupation?
Homemaker.
And your chosen subject?
History of hand knitting.
Hand knitting. 2 minutes, starting now. Ganzis were heavy jumpers hand-knitted throughout 19th century Britain by the women in a family. They were traditionally short at the waist and sleeve to make them safer for their men who did what job?
Fishermen.
Yeah. What French term for woman who knits refers to the women who sat and knitted at executions during the French Revolution?
Tricoteuse.
Yes. In North America, the fine yarn called kiviot is derived from the downy underwool of a mammal that was reintroduced to Alaska in the 1930s from herds in Greenland. What mammal?
Bison.
Musk ox. The 1571 Act required every male person in England over the age of 6 and below the rank of gentleman to wear a specific type of headgear on Sundays and holidays that was made of wool, often knitted and felted. What was the name of this act?
The Monmouth Cap.
The Cappers Act, a knitting cooperative founded in the 1930s to create job opportunities for women in Sweden, produced sweaters with patterned yokes, including Annalisa Mannheimer Lund's blue shimmer design. What was the cooperative called?
The Bauhaus.
Yes. What's the name of the pattern on military stockings that were originally hand-knitted and were developed to be worn with a short kilt? It has a bold diamond design with contrasting diagonal lines.
Highland plaid.
Argyll. What breed of sheep was identified in 1791 by Sir John Sinclair, the founder of the British Wool Society? The Society's breed book says it was established in the UK in the 14th century and produces crisp, white, lustrous wool, which is very versatile.
The Soe.
No, Cheviot. The Guild of Stocking Knitters was formed in Paris in the 1520s. Who was their patron saint?
St Frika.
Yes, the skill for hand-knitting shawls in Estonia has been handed down through the generations since at least the 1800s. The shawls are so fine they can be pulled through a wedding ring and are named after a seaside town. What town?
Hatsola.
Yep. Some of the earliest knitted fragments ever found were excavated at Dura in Syria and date from the early centuries AD. They were made using a precursor of modern knitting that has a Norwegian name. What name?
Non-binding.
Yep. The terrible knitters, started to finish, so-called because of their speed and skill, made gloves with a name and date knitted into the cuff and were based in a village in Cumbria. Which village?
Dent.
Yes, indeed. No passes. Ailish, you have 7 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Rosie Lyon,
Your occupation?
lecturer in animal science.
And your chosen subject?
Robert Louis Stevenson.
Robert Louis Stevenson, the 19th century Scottish writer, best known for his novels and travel writing. In 2 minutes, starting now, as a very young boy, Robert Louis Stevenson won a copy of the Happy Sunday Book of Painted Pictures for writing his version of the story of which biblical figure?
Moses.
Yeah. Stevenson came from a family of lighthouse engineers. In 1869, he accompanied his father on a tour of Scottish lighthouses and islands that included Orkney, Shetland and North Uist aboard which steamer?
Pamphos.
Pharos. In which French town in 1876 did Stevenson first meet his future wife, a married American woman called Fanny Osborne, and her children? On his return to Edinburgh, he wrote the essay On Falling in Love.
Grey Sirloin.
Yes, in the summer of 1881, Stevenson sketched a map which he labelled Treasure Island. It inspired him to begin a new novel which would be published under that title, but it originally had a different title, inspired by the character Long John Silver. What title?
Silver Cook.
The Sea Cook. Stevenson co-authored a play entitled Deacon Brodie with the poet W.E. Henley. Its first performance was in 1882 at Pullens Theatre of Varieties in which English city?
London.
Bradford. What's the title of the first book to be co-written by Stevenson and his stepson Lloyd? Stevenson's publisher, Sam McClure, said it was a good story for a young man to have written, but he thought that Stevenson should not have put his name to it.
The Wrong Box.
Yes. In an article entitled Mr. Stevenson's Methods in Fiction, published in the National Review in 1890, Arthur Conan Doyle described a short story mystery written by Stevenson as the high watermark of his genius. Which short story?
The Merry Man.
The Pavilion on the Links. What was the name of the society that Stevenson and his friends formed in Edinburgh that engaged in discussion and drinking? The group's constitution started with the phrase, ignore everything that our parents have taught us.
Loyalty, Justice and Reverence.
Liberty, Justice and Reverence. In 1889, Stevenson bought a house in Samoa and died there of a cerebral hemorrhage 5 years later, aged just 44. He was buried the next day on the summit of which mountain?
Mount Vaya.
Yes, indeed. No passes, Rosie. You have 4 points. And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Tim Hall.
Your occupation?
Researcher.
And your chosen subject?
The films of the Coen Brothers.
The American filmmakers known for their quirky characters and intricate plots. Here we go, 2 minutes. The first commercial film to be written, produced and directed by the Coen Brothers was a 1984 thriller in which Abby's affair with Ray leads to murder. What's its title?
Blood Simple.
Yep. In The Big Lebowski, a 10-pin bowling enthusiast played by Jeff Bridges is assaulted when he's mistaken for the wealthy businessman Jeffrey Lebowski. Although he's also called Jeffrey Lebowski, Bridges' character says that he prefers to be known by what other name?
The Dude.
Yep. In A Serious Man, Arthur Gopnik uses densely packed equations and symbols to draw a probability map of the universe in a notebook with the map's name written on the front cover. What's the name of the map?
The Tachromicon.
The Mentaculus. In Hail Caesar, the actor Baird Whitlock is kidnapped by a group of writers who identify themselves at the end of their ransom note by what collective name?
The Future.
Yep. What's the title of the book in which W.P. Mayhew writes a dedication to Barton Fink, which reads, "May this little entertainment divert you in your sojourn among the Philistines"?
Nebuchadnezzar.
Yep. In True Grit, Matt Damon's character LaBeouf is tracking the criminal Tom Cheney because he killed a senator named Bibbs during an argument about a dog. In which American state was the senator murdered?
Texas.
Yep. During the hula hoop manufacturing sequence in the Hudsucker Proxy, an employee reads 2 novels while advertising men brainstorm product names. One of the novels is War and Peace. What's the title of the other?
Anna Karenina.
Yep. In Fargo, when Marge Gunderson first visits Jerry Lundegaard at his car dealership as part of her murder investigation, she describes the town of Brainerd as home of Paul Bunyan and...
Babe the Blue Ox.
Yes. In Intolerable Cruelty, when George Clooney's character Miles first waits to see Herb Meyerson, the senior partner in his law firm, he flicks through a magazine. What's the title of it?
Life Without Intestines.
Living Without Intestines. In Raising Arizona, when Dot visits Hi and Ed, she believes they've adopted a baby, when in fact they've stolen it. What first name does she suggest for the baby? Because she says she loves biblical names.
Daniel.
Jason, who won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his role as the killer Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men. When the Coens asked him to play the role, he reportedly questioned why. He said, "I don't drive, I speak bad English, and I hate violence."
Javier Bardem.
He is correct. No passes, Tim. You have 8 points. So that is the end of the specialist round. Let's have a look at all the scores. In 4th place with 4 points, Rosie. 3rd place, 7 points, Ailish. Joint 1st place, 8 points apiece, Connor and Tim. So now it is the general knowledge round. And if there's a tie at the end of that, then the number of passes is taken into account and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they are tied on passes as well, then there has to be a tie break. So let's ask Rosie to join us again, please. And as you will know, Rosie, you have 2.5 minutes of general knowledge this time, so you've got plenty of time to catch up with the others. Here we go. The charity known by the initials RNIB is the Royal National Institute of whom?
Birds.
Blind people. In February 2020, a Serbian tennis player won the men's singles title at the Australian Open for a record 8th time. What's his name?
Djokovic.
Yep. The daughter of Bertie Ahern, the former Prime Minister of Ireland, is now a best-selling author whose debut novel, P.S. I Love You, was adapted into a 2007 film. What's her first name?
Ellen.
Cecilia. What name is given to a pottery beer mug in the shape of a stout man? He's normally dressed in a 3-cornered hat and carries a pipe.
Pass.
Which metallic chemical element has a name derived from the Greek word for stone?
Antimony.
Lithium. Which American singer and actress has been married to the actor Sean Penn and the film director Guy Ritchie?
Madonna.
Yep. The Mediterranean island of Minorca belongs to a group of islands which forms one of Spain's autonomous communities. Which group of islands?
Sicilian.
Balearic. An actress whose first major role was in the television soap Brookside went on to play Dr. Beth Glover in Peak Practice and the pathologist, Sam Ryan, in Silent Witness. What's her name?
Pass.
What name was given to the British financial crisis of 1720, which was brought about by the collapse of shares in a company trading with South America?
Pass.
The album Our Version of Events, which topped the UK chart on its release in 2012 and remained in the top 10 for more than 60 consecutive weeks, is the debut album by a singer who was born in Sunderland and grew up in Scotland. What's her name?
Emily Sandé.
Yes. Quasi-non-governmental organisations which are funded by the government but are meant to operate independently are usually known by what acronym?
Pass.
Eid al-Fitr is a 3-day festival that marks the end of a holy month in which religion?
Islam.
Yes, a British actor who appeared in the 1976 film Bugsy Malone and the children's television series Press Gang went on to direct the biopics Eddie the Eagle and Rocket Man. What's his name?
Pass. Sorry.
The letters VSOP on the label of a bottle of brandy indicate that the youngest brandy in the blend is at least 4 years old. What does the letter P stand for in this abbreviation? Take a guess. All right, I'll take it as a pass. Pale. And your other passes, quasi-non-governmental organisations, are quangos. That financial crisis of 1720 was the South Sea Bubble. Amanda Burton was the actress who played in Brookside and all the rest of them. The pottery beer mug in the shape of a stout man, that's a Toby jug. Oh. And, yeah, you knew it, didn't you?
Yeah.
I know. And a British actor who played in Bugsy Malone and all that was Dexter Fletcher. You have, Rosie, 8 points.
Yeah, OK.
And next up, Ailish again, please. And you start out with 7 points, Ailish, and you get 2.5 minutes of general knowledge. Starting now, vermilion is a bright shade of which primary colour?
Green.
Red. The English university, often referred to by its initials UEA, is known in full as the University of where?
East Anglia.
Yes, the philosophical principle named after William of Ockham, which states that things should not be multiplied beyond what is necessary, is known as Ockham's
razor.
Correct. Otology is a branch of medicine that studies the anatomy and diseases of which pair of organs?
Lungs.
Ears. Which British children's author co-wrote the screenplay for the 1968 film Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
Enid Blyton.
Roald Dahl. Lhasa is the capital of an autonomous region which was incorporated into the People's Republic of China in the 1950s. This resulted in the exile of its spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama. Which region?
Nepal.
Tibet. A lipogram is a literary work composed of words that do not contain a certain letter. For example, Gadsby by Ernest Vincent Wright is promoted as a 50,000-word story without which vowel?
E.
Yes. Which politician who challenged Margaret Thatcher for the Conservative Party leadership in 1990 was MP for Tavistock from 66 to 74, Henley-on-Thames from 74 to 2001. He also served as Environment Secretary and Defence Secretary.
Heseltine?
Yep. Which video game franchise launched in 1996 is set in Raccoon City and features characters who battle against zombies created by the sinister Umbrella Corporation?
Silent Hill.
Resident Evil. In the Battle of Blenheim in 1704, an alliance that included British, Dutch and Austrian forces defeated a Franco-Bavarian army. The British commander at the battle was the Duke of
Cardigan.
Marlborough. The first UK #1 single for the Rolling Stones was a cover version of the song It's All Over Now by the American soul band the Valentinos. Which member of that group wrote the song together with his sister-in-law, Shirley?
Pete Townsend.
Bobby Womack. An Italian appetizer made from grilled slices of bread moistened with olive oil and commonly topped with tomatoes and basil has a name derived from an Italian word that means to toast. What appetizer?
Bruschetta.
Yeah. What's the word for the player in a game of baseball whose role is to throw the ball at the batter?
Pitcher.
Yeah. Who made her on-screen television debut as part of the Blue Peter team in 1962 before she went on to present programmes such as Nationwide and The Money Programme?
Val Singleton.
Yes, indeed. No passes with that round. You have a total now of 14 points. And now Connor again, please. And you start out with 8 points, Connor. 14 is, as things stand, the score to beat. Let's see if you do that. Here we go. Liposuction is a surgical procedure to remove what type of tissue from the body?
Fat.
Yep. A museum opened in 2012 in the city of Lens in the far north of France is a branch of which larger museum in Paris?
The Louvre.
Yep. At the end of a tax year, employers in the UK issue a form to their employees with details of how much income tax they'd paid. What's the name of this form?
P62.
P60. The All England Club at Wimbledon was initially set up to promote a sport other than tennis and retains the sport's name in its official title. What sport?
Badminton.
Croquet. Malcolm Bighead Alexander the Fierce and William the Lion were medieval kings of a country which is now one of the home nations of the UK. Which one?
Mercia.
Scotland. At the Academy Awards in 2020, Renee Zellweger won the Best Actress Oscar for her portrayal of an American actress and singer who was nominated for the same award in 1955 but didn't win. What was her name?
Judy Garland.
Yep. A small, loose-skinned variety of orange, similar to a tangerine or mandarin, is named after a former province in southern Japan where it was developed. What's its name?
Satsuma.
Yep. The term cereology, derived from the name of Ceres, the Roman goddess of agriculture, is the study or investigation of what phenomenon?
Irrigation.
Crop circles. In 1966, the British left-wing newspaper The Daily Worker changed its name to what?
The Morning Star.
Yeah. A former politician and best-selling author wrote a 2002 book entitled A Prison Diary under the pen name FF8282, his prison number, while he was serving a sentence for perjury and perverting the course of justice. What was his name?
Sullivan.
Jeffrey Archer. Which American singer who died in 2020 was best known for his 1970s hit singles Lean on Me and Lovely Day? In the latter song, he memorably held a note for 18 seconds.
Pass.
What name that means high city was given to the fortified citadel, which was a feature of most ancient Greek cities? The most famous example is in Athens.
Acropolis.
Yep. A Warner Brothers cartoon character who is a black duck with an orange beak first appeared in the 1937 short film Porky's Duck Hunt. What's his name?
Daffy Duck.
Yep. An administrative capital city in South America was originally founded in the 16th century with a Spanish name that translates as Our Lady of Peace. What's the modern name of the city?
Brasilia.
La Paz, a mathematical sequence in which each number is the sum of the two previous ones, is named after an Italian mathematician who described it in the 13th century. What was his name?
Fibonacci.
Yeah. Which French composer wrote the 1899 piano work known in English as Pavane for a Dead Infanta and the 1912 ballet Daphnis and Chloe?
Debussy.
Ravel. One past that American singer who held a note for 18 seconds in Lovely Day was Bill Withers. You have a total now, Connor, of 16 points. And finally, Tim again, please. And you also start out with 8, Tim. And the score to beat, if you are to get into the next round, into the semi-finals, that is 16. So here we go. Small pork sausages wrapped in bacon are known as pigs in...
Blankets.
Yep. At the 2019 UK general election, the leader of one of the main political parties lost her seat in the Dunbartonshire East constituency by just 149 votes. What's her name?
Anne Leslie.
Joe Swinson. Which children's character, an anthropomorphic fox, has starred in his namesake television show with a series of co-presenters that includes Rodney Bewes, Derek Fowles and Roy North?
Basil Brush.
Yep. A ship canal just under 4 miles long, cut through a narrow isthmus in Greece, links the Aegean Sea with the Ionian Sea. What's the name of that canal?
Corinth Canal.
Yep, in 1984, the painter Malcolm Morley became the first winner of a prestigious British art prize, now awarded annually. What prize?
The Turner Prize.
Yep, the Gothic chapel within the grounds of Windsor Castle contains the tombs of Henry VIII and Charles I. The chapel is named after which saint?
St George.
Yep. The song The Impossible Dream comes from a Tony Award-winning musical based on the Spanish novel Don Quixote and opened on Broadway in 1965. Which musical?
Men of La Mancha.
Yep. Since the 1930s, the national rugby union teams of New Zealand and Australia have competed against each other for a trophy named after the Governor-General of New Zealand who donated it. What's the name of the trophy?
Bledisloe Cup.
Yep. In the mid-1990s, the songwriter Guy Chambers formed a partnership with a British singer at the start of his solo career, which resulted in a number of hit singles, including Angels, Let Me Entertain You, and No Regrets. Which singer?
Robbie Williams.
Yep. Which 2000 book by Naomi Klein was subtitled Taking Aim at the Brand Bullies? It became a key text of the anti-globalization movement.
No Logo.
Yep. At the Academy Awards in 2020, a South Korean dark comedy became the first foreign language film to win the Oscar for Best Picture. What's its title?
Parasite.
Yep. What term is used in English for the system of prisons set up in the Soviet Union in which inmates were forced to work in brutal conditions? It comes from a Russian acronym that means corrective labor camp.
Gulag.
Yep. An encrypted messaging service for text, voice calls, photos and videos, which was founded in 2009 by Jan Koum and Brian Acton, was bought by Facebook in 2014 for a reported $19 billion. What's it called?
Instagram.
WhatsApp. Which American president owned a plantation in Virginia called Monticello, where he built a house that he called his essay in architecture?
Jefferson.
Yeah. Which Paris-based fashion label was founded in 1933 by a French tennis star nicknamed the Crocodile?
Lacoste.
Yeah. The Chic test is a medical procedure which was introduced in 1913 and named after the paediatrician who developed it. The test is used to determine whether an individual has immunity to which disease? Go on, name one.
Diphtheria.
Yes. Yes, see, it's always worth taking a chance on it. You had no passes, and you have a total now, Tim, of 22 points.
Thank you.
Right, let's have a look at the final scores. In fourth place with 8 points, Rosie. Third place, 14 points, Ailish. Second place, 16 points, Connor. First place with 22 points, Tim. And that means, of course, that Tim goes through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to him. And if you would like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind. And you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. And do join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
It's incredibly nerve-wracking, and you don't get to do it in rehearsal. So the first time you sit in the chair is literally when the light's on you and John's asking the questions, and it's terrifying. I grew up watching Mastermind with Magnus Magnusson, and when I was very small, my parents would let me stay up on a Sunday night to watch it. So it's always been one of my favourite shows of any format, not just quiz. So I've always wanted to be on it, and I finally got around to doing it.
One of the novels is War and Peace. What's the title of the other?
Anna Karenina.
Yep.
Before you start the quiz, the brilliant question master says it's always worth having a go.
Go on, name one.
And so I thought, I will have a go. Diphtheria.
Yes. Yes.
And astonishingly, it was right. I think anyone who does quizzes dreams of winning certain titles, and Mastermind is very much at the top of that.
First place with 22 points, Tim.
It's the biggest test that a quizzer can go through. The revision for the semi-final starts now. In fact, it started 2 hours ago.